Hello everybody. This is another important video for you guys to understand how to process data in qualitative research studies. Make sure you go through the end of the video to understand each of the steps involved in data processing. Because how you process and analyze the data in a qualitative study depends upon how you plan to communicate the findings. Broadly, there are three ways in which you can write about your findings in qualitative research. Let's get into it. The first one is to develop a narrative to describe a situation, episode, event, or instance. The second one is identifying the main themes that emerge from your field notes or transcription of your in-depth interviews, focus groups discussions, and writing about them, quoting extensively verbatim as you have received the information from the respondents. In addition to developing a narrative and identifying the main themes, also quantifying by indicating their frequency of occurrence, the main themes in order to provide their prevalence. How many times did any dialogue occur? Were a phrase used? Was a behavior noticed? For example, let's say take an example that you're observing a group of people in a room and trying to study their productivity when they don't know each other. So you can note down how many times they spoke to each other, how many times have they taken breaks, how many times have they stopped working for no reason. So there could be these frequencies of them occurring. Or if you are going through your notes and you are trying to look out for phrases or words that have similar meaning, note down how many times the respondents have used the same phrase or the same meaning or synonyms of the same words, and that gives you the frequency of occurrence. Editing for qualitative research is possible when you have to go through your notes extensively to identify if something does not make sense. In such an event, you may be able to recall the context and correct the contents, but be careful in doing so, as inability to recall precisely may introduce inaccuracies. This is often called recall error. So you may find that some of the data is not making sense, and now you are trying to remember what was that the respondent said, or you watch their video recordings, or you listen to their audio and you're trying to recall. But remember, when you're trying to recall it in this way, make sure that you're not making any mistake. There are no inaccuracies that are creeping into your research data. Another way of ensuring whether you're truly reflecting the situation is to transcribe the interviews or observational notes and share them with the respondents or research participants for their confirmation and approval. There are a lot of transcribing software available these days. You can get it transcribed quickly. Sometimes it is a bit costly, but you can get them transcribed and then you can send it back to the respondents. You can visit the respondents personally as well and ask them to go through their notes. Many of them don't like to do it, but some of them, if they like to do it, that gives you that additional validation. Remember, validation of the information by a respondent is an important aspect of ensuring the accuracy of data collected through unstructured interviews. For writing in a narrative form, there is no analysis per se. However, you need to think through the sequence in which you need or want to narrate. For the other two ways of writing about the findings that I mentioned in the first slide, you need to go through content analysis. I will make a separate video on content analysis and how to do it as an example, and I will provide you with the link to that video in the description section below of this video. Content analysis means analyzing the content of interviews or observation field notes or focus group discussions in order to identify the main themes that emerge from the responses given by the respondents or the observation notes made by yourself as a researcher. It involves a number of steps. Let me take you through those 4 steps, and in my next video I will actually take up an example and show you how those 4 steps are used in practice. Step 1. Identifying the main themes. You need to carefully go through descriptive responses given by your respondents to each question in order to understand the meaning they communicate. From these responses, you develop broad themes that reflect those meanings. You will notice that people use different words and language to express themselves. It is important for you to select the wording of your themes in a way that actually represents the meaning of the respondents categorized under a theme. These themes become the basis for analyzing the text of unstructured interviews. Similarly, you need to go through your field notes to identify the main themes as well. In my next video, I will show you an example of how to do that. Step 2, assigning codes to the main themes. Whether or not you assign a code to a main theme is dependent upon whether or not you want to count the number of times a theme has occurred in an interview. If you decide to count these themes, you should at random select a few responses to an open-ended question or from your observational or discussional notes and identify the main themes. In the previous slide, I explained how you can count the frequencies or the number of times a behavior has occurred or a phrase has been used or a word has been used. So you continue to identify these themes from the same question till you have reached the saturation point. Write these themes and assign a code to each of them using numbers or keywords. Otherwise, just identify the main themes. Assigning codes sometimes makes it easy for you to do a data analysis. Remember that. So that is why some researchers often assign codes, because it helps with the data analysis and also to present the data later on when you're actually writing the report. Step 3 is classifying the responses under the main themes. Now here you have identified the themes. The next step will be to go through the transcript of all your interviews or your notes or the focus group discussions, and you classify the responses or contents of the notes under the different themes. You can use computer software such as NVivo, Atlas.ti or MaxQDA for undertaking this thematic analysis. You will benefit from learning one of these programs if your data is suitable for such analysis. As a qualitative researcher, the least you can do is learn about the MaxQDA, which will really help you with your qualitative data analysis. Step 4 is integrating the themes and responses into the text of your report. Now you have identified the responses that fall within different themes. The next step is to integrate them into the text of your report. That report could be your thesis, your journal, your paper. How you do so is your choice. Some people, while discussing the main themes that emerged from the study, use verbatim responses to keep the feel of the responses. So verbatim responses means wording it or writing it exactly how the respondent said it. Others count how frequently a theme has occurred and then provide a sample of the responses. It entirely depends upon the way you want to communicate the findings to your readers. Remember, when you are writing a thesis, a journal, or a report, you have to keep it interesting for the reader as well. Simply quoting your respondents and giving those quotations in quotation marks or those words in quotation marks may not be very interesting. So you have to remember how to present the data in an interesting way to keep the flow of the paper going, to keep it interesting, to keep your reader engaged. So try to focus on the argument and use those quotations or use those responses or the frequency of the responses purely to support the argument. Remember, your reader will be more interested in reading the argument, your findings, your discussion, what you have to say, what is the new thing that you are saying, how are you contributing to the literature, how you are contributing to the existing arguments or the theory that is there. Using the data to support the arguments is what keeps it interesting. So I hope you guys found this video interesting. Like I mentioned before, in my next video I will actually show you an example of how a content analysis is carried out in qualitative research. I will take you through each of these 4 steps, show you how the content can be analyzed to develop themes, to identify the themes, and how you can use the words, how you can use the phrases, how you can assign meanings to the same word. People use different words to mean the same thing. I will show examples of each of it. Please watch that video as well, and thank you for watching today's video. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and let me know if these videos are useful to you. Should I keep making them? Otherwise, bye for now and good luck with your research studies. Bye.